In this video, we're going to go through the driving options in GT Sport, whether using a controller or a wheel. These driving options and the settings we suggest will help you be faster. First of all, let's begin. To get to the driving options, you need to go to the basically the race menu. So you can get to this through the sport mode. Just choose either qualifying or race practice, and then we load up the screen here. The menu you're looking for is driving options, just on the screen right now. The first setting is transmission. Manual is certainly the fastest. It allows you to be very specific with which gear you use for each corner, downshifting, etc. If you are new to the game, don't be afraid to use automatic transmission, but just bear in mind that manual transmission just gives you that extra level of control when you want to get the best possible lap times. The tyre selection on the menu here, we will discuss that in more detail later on. And now traction control. You will be fastest using traction control 0 as long as you can control the car. If you are spinning out, losing the rear end, having trouble accelerating, then it's not going to get you a faster lap time. Traction control is also very useful at the start of a race when the tyres are cold. It's probably better just to pop it on traction control 1. It just helps to control the car when the tyres are cold, when you don't have the grip available, and when you need a little bit of safety in the car. If you are looking to achieve the ultimate lap time, you want to be using traction control 0 and wrestling the car to get the lap time you need. Auto drive is the next option. Goes without saying, auto drive off. We want to be driving the car. We want to be getting the fastest lap times possible. This driving line assist is an interesting one. I have cone markers on. The other ones I don't bother with so much, but I have cone markers on for a very specific reason. Is that some tracks have very difficult braking references. We're going to show you an example now. Down the Mulsanne straight, braking into the second chicane, there the cones, boom, on the brakes, at the cones, and then we just get a perfect line through the chicane. Without the cones on, I really can't figure out what reference point we'd have. We're going to slow it down now. Just check this out here. If the cones weren't there, what would be your braking point? What would be your reference? The answer to that question is I don't know. It's very difficult. One thing to be wary of, the cones can get wiped out during races, so don't always rely on them, but certainly in time trial they're a great addition. This option here, braking indicator, don't worry about that, turn that off, it doesn't really have any effect. Fuel indicator, I have it turned on, it's just a little pop-up. It's kind of useful when you're running low on fuel. These next two options are disabled and not allowed in sport mode, so always have them off whenever you're driving the car. This one here is huge, absolutely huge. ABS. Being fast in GT Sport is all about braking, hitting your braking point, trail braking to the corner to hit them perfect apexes. The ABS in GT Sport works incredibly well. Almost 99% of the fast drivers have ABS set to default. You should be doing the same. There's no reason why you should be making life difficult for yourself by trying to work with ABS turned off or ABS on weak. Just set it to default and you gain lap time, you gain consistency. It's win-win situation. Of all the options we're about to explain, ABS to default is the most critical one. Then at the bottom of the list we have detailed settings. These can be accessed also from in-game pause menu, as can that menu itself. So while driving, if you were to hit the pause button, we have the menu come up. You can move across to options, as we've got highlighted just there. That brings up essentially the same menu as we just explained, and then you go right down to the bottom and we get some more detailed settings. First option is what is displayed, your heads-up display basically. I recommend you have everything turned on. Certainly critical when you've got the multifunction display. Driver names, I'd have them on too. It doesn't make a great deal of difference, but it's certainly good to see. Here's an interesting one that I don't think many people really know. If you want the immersion, the realism mode, and you like to drive from cockpit view, you can make adjustments to the height and forward and back position of your cockpit view. Ideal for a car where it's perhaps got a large steering wheel and you need to get that height to get the viewpoint over the top of the steering wheel. Really nice that they've included this feature. You can also adjust the chase view. Some settings here is the sensitivity of the yaw to follow the car's rotation. The middle option, I think, is the axis in which that yaw motion rotates around, and then you've got near or far view. I don't think there's any particularly good settings for this. I don't use chase view anymore. This setting here is huge. Controller sensitivity. If you're a controller player, this will tune the sensitivity of the steering input. I'm going to give you some examples now. Top screen is sensitivity 7, bottom screen sensitivity -2. You can see how much quicker it is with a higher sensitivity. We're going to do this now while we're driving. This is side to side, full stick movement left and right. You see how much the car reacts. Now we're going to quickly set it to sensitivity -2. Exact same stick movements, and it's just so much more lazy. In my opinion, when I was driving with a controller, sensitivity 7 was absolutely perfect. It just allowed you to get more precision and direction changes through chicanes like at Monza, for example. If you are using a wheel, this setting has no effect on the wheel. The two settings below are for steering wheel only. The bottom one, I'll explain, is basically the almost feedback you get from the tyres. In my opinion, you want this set to maximum. You want to feel everything that the front tyres are doing, whether it's losing slip angle, riding a curb, anything like that. Those details, you need to know the maximum. The middle option is the magnitude of this, the strength that the wheel provides back to you. For a Logitech G29, for example, or any of the Logitech G series wheels, I'd recommend anywhere between 2 and 4. These are all settings that you can tune to your own preference. I don't think there's any particularly game-changing setting. I think maybe force feedback sensitivity being 10 is important, but the other ones are more of a personal tune, personal preference. Finally, some video options. Again, EV, just for exposure, saturation, and HDR, which I don't have a HDR TV. Moving on now to the MFD multifunction display panel. This can be done in-game while you're racing. First menu you can see is the delta splits, lap times. You can switch up and down between the car record or the current session. That allows you, if you want to do a back-to-back test with something, you can change track control from here. As you can see, you can do it on the fly. Very useful during a race, for example, as we discussed before, starting off with traction control 1 while the tyres are cold, and then switching traction control to 0 once you get up to race pace. You can also switch brake balance from this MFD. You can adjust this on the fly. Useful during a race. If it's a high tyre wear race, you can tune the brake balance to set the way the tyres wear. That is a completely different topic. We could discuss that in a future video. Let me know in the comments below if you think that would be useful, if you want to know more about that. You've also got track map, pretty much not useful. And then you've got radar, almost the most useful MFD. It's where I always leave radar on when I'm racing. It gives you that feedback of where the cars are around you. And when you're racing, it's critical because you lose that peripheral vision that you would get in real life. There is also other settings you can have for the car settings. Clicking on the spanner icon. For a lot of the car settings, BOP is enabled, which basically locks a lot of these settings in sport mode. You can also change the traction control from this setup options here. As we see, they're the same matching settings. And this is also here where you can change tyres. Now, interestingly, there is a quirk to this. You can't change the tyres if you're choosing rear tyres first. You have to change the front tyres, for example, to medium, before it allows you to change the rear tyres. In sport mode, you're not allowed to mix the tyres. You have to change the front tyres first before you can change the rear ones. It took me longer than I'd care to really admit to realise that I was stuck. I couldn't change the tyres. But we've got it sorted now, and hopefully you know that information too. Brake bias is also changeable at this menu here, and then pretty much all of the other setup options are locked. Now, this is probably the most important tip. It's how to change your livery. We all know liveries make for fast cars. If the car looks fast, it goes fast. Before you do that, you can see here the menu option when you're in the garage mode, BOP is off and you have full adjustments over a lot of this stuff, but I don't use that menu because BOP is on so often. I rarely ever use that. So you can go on to car livery. Liveries that you've downloaded from the Discover won't show up until you choose My Library and choose Collection. This is where the downloaded liveries that you've got from the Discovery section, and then you can just browse through the ones that you chose to download and add to your library. And here we're going to select the vintage Peugeot Le Mans livery, which looks absolutely fantastic. And as we know, that's going to give us about half a second a lap, just because if it looks good, if it looks fast, it is fast. Right, that concludes all the options. Let me know what you think of that. Let me know if you've managed to do any of the advice and improve. Like and subscribe if you like the content, and we'll catch you in the next one.